Hello and welcome to Educated STEM. I am Kate, the founder of Educated STEM, and today we're going to start a new series about how to be successful in graduate school. So before we begin, I hope that you have enjoyed my previous videos. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and let's go through from the very beginning of your graduate school program all the way through to defending and the very end. And this is the American system. I am English or British, and so I went through the UK PhD system. However, I worked in a graduate school. I used to be the Associate Dean of Administration and Student Development, and I've helped many students go through right from the very beginning of the program all the way through to the end. So I have written a document which is available on my Educated STEM's Patreon page. It will cost you a whole $3. So for the price of a cup of coffee, you can get my very short document. It's less than 20 pages with all of the highlights and all of the things that I think are vital in order for you to be successful in graduate school. And obviously you can go ahead and read the books that I'm also going to show you, which I think are also very helpful. But my document is very short and sweet, and I think has basically the cliff notes of what you need. So first off, what do you do for your first few weeks? So first of all, congratulations, you got in. And I'm sure you have some concerns. Are you going to be good enough? What are the classes going to be like? What is your cohort going to be like? Are you going to be popular? Are you going to be clever enough or intelligent enough? And I just want you to just take a breath at this point. You have been accepted for a reason. The selection committee obviously saw something in you and they believe that you will be successful in graduate school, and there's no reason at this point to doubt that you will. And I also want you to consider that all of your other members in your cohort are all feeling the exact same thing. They might not tell you that they are, but they are. Trust me on this. So don't worry about it. Please just, start your journey as you mean to go on. Now, what do you do in your first couple of days? And I'm going to start with the less obvious thing, which is all of the administration that you need. So first of all, how are you going to get paid? When are you going to get paid? When is your first paycheck going to arrive? Do you need to give an administrator somewhere the details of your bank account so that the money can go straight into there? All of these things will hopefully be addressed in your orientation, few weeks, whatever that period of time is for your school. But I also want you to note who gives you the instructions about where to give your bank account information or something. Because if there's an issue with your pay, who are you going to go to? You're not going to be paid an awful lot as a graduate student, so every single payment counts. And if that is delayed in any way, then that can really impact whether you can pay your bills, your rent, and other things. So let's get this all figured out. You also need to know how much do you need to set aside for taxes. The American tax system for me is a little odd because we don't do it that way in the UK. But I'm hoping that someone in your school, it probably won't be an administrator or someone from HR, because they're not going to want to give you advice which will lead them to potentially getting sued if they give you the wrong advice. But hopefully there is a more senior student in your program who is willing to let you know roughly how much you need to set aside so that you can pay taxes when they're due. Now, that might not be possible in your first couple of paychecks. You might have just moved to wherever you are now in your program, and you may have to, pay back some money or something like that. But eventually, you're going to have to start setting some money aside. It might be that you don't have to set money aside. Money might also just be taken out automatically. It depends how they're paying you. So figure that out, because you don't want a nasty bill. And I have seen this happen before, and it's always very, very stressful to the students. So before you even get down to the nitty-gritty of learning and doing your courses and rotations, let's just make sure that you get your basics all covered. So now that you've figured out how you're going to get paid, what's the next thing? The next thing is looking after you, your health, your medical, your dental, all of those sorts of things. Now, you've probably moved to a new city and you're going to get your healthcare hopefully from the school. So the first thing to do is sign up for health insurance. So you might have hopefully someone come and talk to you in the orientation to figure out how to do it. But your first decision, are you going to be HMO, so that's Health Maintenance Organization, or PPO, which is Preferred Provider Organization? If you're not American, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, what on earth is that? So basically HMO, you have a network that you can go to and you will only see those providers. If you're PPO, you can go outside of that network. It is probably just going to cost you more money. And usually their monthly payment for HMO is going to be lower than it is for a PPO. So, are you going to have a flexible spending account or an FSA? That means that every time you get paid, a portion that you will decide what that is will come out of your pay before you get it, and it will be set aside, and you can use that money every year so that you can pay for medical bills, dental bills, whatever it is. Even glasses and contacts, which is great. So, if you don't think that you're going to be going to the doctors a lot, or you don't predict that you're going to need dental work, or you don't wear glasses or something like I do, then you might not want to begin a flexible spending account. However, if you know that a couple of times a year you're going to have to go to the doctor, or you have regular prescriptions, then this might be something that you want to consider. So sign up for it. You will also want to figure out who your primary doctor is going to be. So they'll probably be in your network, and sign up for them and go and meet them. Have your first welcome meeting where you can see if they're going to be a good fit for you. Because the last thing you want to do is wait until you're sick and then you go to the doctor and you think, oh, they suck, I don't like them, because you're stuck with them then and until you can then change later on. Same thing for your dentist, same thing for an optician. Get those appointments, get it all done, make sure that you're in good health at the beginning of your graduate school journey. Now, we've got your health and medical things out the way, and also your finances. Next thing, I need you to get really comfortable and familiar with campus. Are you driving in? Where are you going to park? Is there a parking fee, and who do you pay? If you're not driving in, are you walking or taking public transport? What are the options? How long is all of that going to take? Because you're going to be coming to meetings and orientation and classes. You want to make sure that you are always there early. You want to make a good impression on the administrators who are probably doing your orientation, but also the professors who are doing your classes. You do not want to run in late because you mistimed how long it takes to park or to get from public transport and actually find the room that you're in. So make that good impression. Where are your meetings and classes held? Maybe you can look at your timetable and you can just spend a little while becoming familiar with campus, finding all of those meeting areas and classes so that you know how much time you're going to need in order to get there the first time. You want to make these good impressions because these are the administrators and the professors who are going to be helping and teaching you in the future. And obviously you want to make a good impression immediately rather than them thinking that you're sloppy, that you're late, that you don't necessarily care about being in the program. The next thing is, where are the administration offices for your program? And who are the people in there? So there might be, someone at the reception desk. There might be a variety of managers, coordinators, deans. Who are they? What are they all for? And who will you be going to for help? Now, this shouldn't have to be said, but I'm going to say it because I've seen many students be dismissive of people in the graduate school office. And just don't do that. At some point, you are going to need help from them for, a variety of reasons. Maybe you want help submitting a grant, you've got mentor issues, you have potential issues with your courses, you are going to be going to these people and asking for their help. So if you have treated them poorly in the past, they are going to potentially remember that right now. You may not be getting in to see them as quickly as you could if you had actually been, very charming and lovely and nice to them. A lot of the time, you can drop what you're currently doing to deal with a issue instantly. Sometimes you can't, but oftentimes you can. So make sure that you make the impression where they want to help you, they want to drop what they're doing so that you can actually get that help as quickly as possible. Now, there's going to be an orientation period. So it could be a couple of weeks. There's going to be multiple orientation events where they talk about your expectations. There might be classes that you need to take which are prerequisites. They might be meet and greets with potential professors and other things. And some of them might be optional. They're not optional. I need you to go to every single one because you never know who you're going to meet. That interaction could really help you in the future. And one of the things that I want you to consider is you're going to get the opportunity to see professors in the wild. So they're going to be in front of you at all of these different events. Look how people approach them, how they are kind of spoken to. Are they very formal? Are they informal? How friendly are they? And are they friendly to everyone or just a subset of people? Because this is all going to be valuable information when it comes to choosing who you rotate with and also who you then want to choose later on for your lab. So begin gathering this information as soon as you get there. You might bump into someone who you really instantly click with and you have never even considered them as a potential mentor. Likewise, you might meet someone and you thought they were going to be your mentor and you think, oh, no, actually dodged a bullet. I definitely don't want anything more to do with you, having met you or watched you interact with other people. So go to all of the events. Also, don't assume that if you have to miss anything, that one of your cohort will actually tell you what you missed. Because oftentimes, there's going to be one or two people in your cohort who consider it a massive competition. And so anything they have over you is great because then they have more knowledge. They're not necessarily going to help you. So don't be that person. Be helpful if people genuinely can't go to an event. You might want to find out immediately if there are any fellowships that are going to be awarded and how do they choose who get them. It could be the first 6 months or so of the academics. So who are the top students in the class? What are the reports like from the person that you're rotating with? That sort of thing. They might have also given fellowships away to kind of entice people into the program. So if you're not one of the ones who've already walked into the program with a fellowship, this might be the time where you can actually win one. So figure out how many fellowships there may or may not be, and then also figure out how they are selected, and then try hard to win one, because obviously if you have a fellowship at some point, then it reflects very well on you in the future. You also might want to think about your first rotation, because if you're going to be judged on your first few months, then you might want to keep, your preferred rotation for number 2, so that you can then focus more on your classes, still do a good rotation, but make sure that you really get good grades in that first few months. The next thing are what classes will you take in the first year. You've probably got mandatory classes that everyone is going to be taking. And then in later years, you can select which specialized courses you're going to take. So find your academic calendar, which is probably going to be given to you in your orientation, and note when your classes are, when your rotations are, and if you get any days off, so federal holidays or time off around Thanksgiving, Christmas and Easter. And if you're planning on going home at any point during that time, make sure that you get those days off, because it would really suck if you have booked a plane ticket or something to go home, and then you find out that you're not eligible to take that time off. That would be a very expensive mistake. So make sure that you know when you're expected to be at the school. The next thing is, how frequently are you expected to be a teaching assistant, and who are you going to be working with? So as the name suggests, you're going to be assisting a professor teaching a class. So it could be that you actually teach a class. It could be that you're running a lab. It could be that you're doing grading or writing a syllabus, preparing materials, maybe leading a discussion, or maybe in the office hours requirement where students can come and ask you questions. So all of this is all great stuff. At this point, and it might seem a bit silly, I need you to write down exactly what you're doing, who you've done it with, on your CV or some sort of document so that you can make a note of what you have done. And I also want you to think about whether you're enjoying any of this stuff. If you want to go the academic route, then all of this is necessary as you become a professor. So do you enjoy it? Yes or no? If you don't enjoy it, maybe you want to think about something else, because you really ought not be a professor if you don't enjoy meeting with students and teaching them and that sort of stuff. The final thing I want to cover in this video is you're going to be handed a school or program handbook at some point, and this is going to be your guide to success. And so a lot of the questions that I've talked about in this video will already be answered in there. And I need you to flick through and get those answers. And I don't need you to necessarily read the whole thing in your first couple of weeks, but make sure that you're familiar with it, certainly in the next few months. So even if you read, a couple of pages a day, just to make sure that you know what the expectations are, which will definitely help in the future. So somewhere in that handbook, there'll be information about who you need to go to if you're harassed, discriminated, asked to do anything unethical, and those individuals might be different. So just have the information. Being forewarned is always better. Let's be prepared about this. Hopefully nothing happens during your time in graduate school, but just in case it does, let's know who we can turn to. Now, the next topic is going to have its own video because it's so important, and that's your rotations. So I'll end here. So go and get the Patreon document if you want to. It will cost you $3. And come back for the next video when we're going to talk about your rotations. So like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.